All right, and just like that, Paul Johnson, ChicagoSportsLand.com, Big Johnson Sports, week number 65. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. 65, huh?
65 big ones, and none of them are on steroids.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your show is eligible for AARP now. That's awesome.
Yeah, why don't you come over and piss test me, because I'm sure that I'll piss clean.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I'd rather not do that, but thanks for the offer. It's very generous of you.
Nothing like urination before every segment, and when
that's great.
Yeah, and when commercials
it's a
get
great
played.
way to kick things off. Bring the listeners in, talk about peeing right off the bat, and just get it out of the way.
Well, that's how I do it. I like to tell a variety of people that when a commercial's playing, it's like it'd be nice to get paid to go pee. Well, I mean, what other way? Yeah, so that's really that right there. So every time my commercial is playing, I'm either taking a sip of my green tea, my water, or I'm taking a piss, and I'm getting compensated for it. So just thought I'd let you all know that. But, yes, 65 weeks strong, Mr. Big Johnson. Yeah, a couple of changes in the Cubs locker room. Big Lou, he couldn't even handle the last 38 games and decided to dip out of there this weekend. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's not that. His mom's dying. He's taken 2 road trips off in the last month to fly back to Tampa to tend to her. She's 90 years old, and she's on her deathbed pretty much. He's said that he's retiring to spend time with his family anyways, and it just turned out that, a month and a half before the season ended is when his family really needed him. So to say that he just couldn't take it or quit on the team or anything like that is just it's purely inaccurate. I mean, his mom is dying right now, and he's going to go home in a month and a half anyways. This team is going nowhere for the last month and a half anyways, whether he's here or not. So I have absolutely no problem with him leaving. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was pressing for that on my Facebook page, and actually took a lot of heat for it because I said, look, he doesn't need to sit through this. His legacy's set. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer one day. He wants to go spend time with his family anyways. Mom's already sick. He had an uncle pass away in the last month, too, that he had to fly down for. So just go home. I know that there's a certain honor to filling your contract out and going to the end of it and, seeing it through, even though it's not going to be a success. I get that, but I say he should just go home. And I took a lot of crap for that, just like I took a lot of crap for saying Derek Lee should have taken that trade to Los Angeles and help the Cubs out and go to a pennant race, but he didn't want to go. Well, I took massive heat for that because, you're not a parent. You don't know what it's like to have a sick kid. It's like, oh, Jesus, here we go. And guess what? As we sit here today, Derek Lee is in Atlanta, and Lou Piniella is home in Tampa. So who was right all along?
Yes, and for me to make that statement...
For all the crap I got, and nobody came back and said, hey, you were right,
But,
you know how that goes.
But yes, I know how that goes. But, about my statement that I made earlier about him not being able to last the 38 games, that's because I'm a hater. But anyways...
I know you are.
Yes.
But I'm just setting you straight, hater.
Oh, I know this. I know this. This is why you're my independent sports stores and the newspapers as well. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, and Mike Quaddy, has been a third base coach. He's been a coach in the minors, manager in the minors for the Cubs for a long time. He's a good soldier. He got the job as the interim manager for the rest of the season, which they say he'll get a chance to interview for the job, but he's not going to be a realistic candidate. But I think for a local guy, he's from Mount Prospect. He grew up as a Cubs fan. To get a chance to be the manager of the Cubs has got to be a dream come true for him. And maybe, if he does well, I mean, they're off to a 3-0 start with him right now. Maybe if he does well, he can get a job somewhere else because they gave him a chance to audition, and I think that's a really cool thing to do with the last month and a half of the season is give a guy that's been loyal to the organization and done pretty much whatever they've asked him to do through the years. Give him a chance for, 6 weeks to live a lifelong dream, and maybe he can parlay it into a job somewhere. So I think that's pretty cool.
The way you take sports and the way that you break it down, we have different angles on things because you're more in-depth. And the kind of stories that I hear about the Cubs are either Soriano going out to the clubs via thedirty.com under the Chicago section or the Dirty Athlete section. Of course, Carlos Zambrano over there posing with porn stars and so on. So that's the kind of sports news I bring to the table. But you know.
Well, I understand that. I mean, hey, and I got no problem with them doing that as long as they can go do their damn job. I mean, that friggin' lunatic Zambrano had a great start the other day. So maybe they can finally find a trade, partner for him in the off season if he does well. See, then people always say when you got a team this bad, I mean the Cubs are bad. Let's face it. Like, oh, there's nothing to watch for anymore. Yeah, there is, because there's young players that are going to develop, that are going to be key parts of your team next year, and there's guys like Zambrano that they want to unload. You got to watch and see if he's actually performing well. If he is, they might be able to get rid of him. So, I mean, there are things you can watch, but it's certainly not as exciting as being in a pennant race, that's for sure.
What they should do is have the Yankees scoop him up and make him a star like they scoop up everybody else, and either keep him a star or they make him a star. And
the Cubs actually interviewed their first candidate today. Eric Wedge used to manage the Indians, so they had him in for an interview today for the manager job. So they're getting the ball rolling on this on the search already. So we'll see what happens. I don't see Eric Wedge being a candidate, but I think it's telling that they brought in their first guy for an interview today. So they're obviously getting going on this thing right now.
Okay. So let's talk Southside for a second here.
Yeah, Manny. That's the big topic right now. Is can you imagine an explosive personality like Ozzie Guillen with an outsized, larger-than-life personality like Manny Ramirez for the stretch run? It's looking like that's a definite possibility. Basically, Manny Ramirez has been placed on waivers by the Dodgers, so he's got to pass through all the National League teams first. So none of them are going to claim him because he can barely play the field. He's got to go to the American League. And by the time he gets to the White Sox, he'll probably be available. What would happen there is the Sox would place a claim on them, and then since Manny has a no-trade clause, he can veto it. He can say, okay, and then the Dodgers can either say, look, you can have him, like they did with the Blue Jays did last summer with Alex Rios with the White Sox. Here, you can have him. We don't even want anything in return. Just take it. Or they could try and negotiate a trade. So it's not like it's right around the corner, but I would say the likelihood of him being on the White Sox before August 31st, which is when he has to be here to be eligible for the playoffs if they actually make it, I think the chances of that happening are very, very good. And I think that's just going to make it so entertaining for the month of September here, whether the Sox fade out of the pennant race or not. You can have Ozzie and Manny on the same team. Oh my God, the game is going to become secondary to the show before and after. I mean, that's crazy.
Oh, come on. That's too much hype. I can tell you what's really going to happen. Just like we bring the rest of these big guys over here, such as Ken Griffey Jr., and they're all washed up. Yeah,
but Ken Griffey Jr. was washed up. He was done. Manny Ramirez, he's been hurt a lot this year, but when he has played, he's hitting .318. I mean, this guy can still hit. He's one of the best hitters I've ever seen, whether you count the juice or not. I mean, this guy absolutely rakes. And here's when he plays his best. When he doesn't have a contract for the next year, and when he's in a pennant race. He would come here in a pennant race. He's without a contract for next year. He'll play his ass off in September. He only plays when he wants to play or when he's got something on the table to play for. That's what makes him such a horrible teammate, because if you put him on a bad team, he's a horrible teammate to have because he quits. He doesn't play. He makes up injuries. He's late to everything. He's lazy. He's just a piece of crap teammate. But when he's motivated, that guy turns the switch on, he could have a massive September, and maybe the only thing that could keep the Sox in this race, since they faded so far out and their bullpen is in absolute shambles right now. Looks like the Twins might run away with it. But if they get Manny, you never know. When he first went to L.A. 2 years ago, he had a historic couple months for them and led them to the playoffs and led them to beat the Cubs in the first round of the playoffs that year. So.
Yeah, and then he
a big deal.
And then he pissed hot for that funny stuff. I remember that.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not saying the guy's a saint. I'm just saying when he's motivated, that guy will rake for a month for you.
Right.
He can carry a team. He can carry a team when he wants to.
Well, we got
just having him and Ozzie would be freaking hilarious.
Well, I heard Ozzie talking on a radio station today about a night that they're having. It's some charity or whatnot, and it had to have been so chopped up. I mean, so edited that it wasn't like complete sentences that he said. That it just wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he's been really swearing a lot lately, like more than usual for him. Like he's been going off on some things lately. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, well, okay, whatever. But we got other news happening here in Chicago as well. Scottie Pippen was recently one of the few. He was actually the only one selected to be into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which will result in him getting.
No, he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one selected.
Who else? Okay, who else was there?
Well, I know right away. Karl Malone was there, but I don't know the entire list. But him and Karl Malone were definitely two of them.
All right.
So there were more than that. It was just the only one that they cared about in Chicago, so that's all they talked about. They just, conveniently forget about a guy that scored like 30,000 points in Karl Malone. It's like one of the best power forwards ever walked the face of the earth. They didn't really talk about him too much here.
I don't know what article that was because they made it sound like he was the only one announced and there were still others.
No.
Maybe it was, did they announce him first or did they announce them all together?
Maybe, no, they were all together.
Okay.
So, no, I don't know where you got that, but, regardless.
I Googled
he made the Hall of Fame. Great.
I Googled,
way to go.
Yeah, I Googled it and I guess that's the website it took me to. But, going on. They're going to have, of course, a Scottie Pippen statue, something along the lines of the MJ statue that's currently outside of the United Center. And he has been hired as an ambassador of the team, which means come in and hang out, shoot hoops, play around.
He'll meet with, season ticket holders,
of course.
tour the suites. I mean, I was in a Skybox game a couple of years ago at the United Center, and Bob Love, who played in the 70s with Norm Van Leer and those guys, he just popped into our suite, and said hi to everybody and shook hands and took some pictures, and that's pretty much what he did all night was go and, take care of the VIPs, make them feel like they met somebody famous and, just promote the team. He'll show up at appearances and stuff, but you know what? The key thing for him, with his legal bills that he usually has, he gets a paycheck, so it's good for him.
Oh yeah, one more thing that I forgot going on the South Side this weekend. Frank Thomas's jersey is going to be getting retired to number 35. That's a big thing.
That's very well deserved too. I mean, he's another one of the best pure hitters I've ever seen. Just an absolute monster. And he was misunderstood when he was here, or he was difficult, but it seems like he's getting older. He's kind of mellowing out a little bit, but he had some weird things happen to him when he was here. But you can't argue the numbers. I mean, the guy was just fantastic. He will definitely be a Hall of Famer, and he deserves to get his number retired. That's great for him.
Yeah, I guess he was all natural. He was just a big individual, and
he was. I mean, he played football at Auburn with Bo Jackson. He was a tight end.
So there you go. There you have it.
Oh my God! And just a huge man. I never thought anything about steroids with him because that's just a big dude. There's no steroids there. That's just a big guy.
So wow. Well, see, we got all the good stuff happening in this city. Everything's good. All the numbers getting retired, people getting honored, and what's kind of crappy about all this, Paul? It just makes me feel older because I watched these guys play for several years, even after leaving the Chicago Bulls, and it's just like you remember it, and it's just like
I remember Scottie's entire career. I mean, I was heavy into the NBA when I was growing up. I mean, I remember when they acquired him on draft day. The Bulls did not draft him. He was drafted by somebody else, and they made a trade at the draft to get him. So that was a great move by Jerry Krause to get Scottie Pippen the same year that they drafted Horace Grant. So that was, part of the basis for building those championship teams. Yeah, I mean, I've literally watched his entire career. And, what's weird for me is watching guys I watched their entire career make the Hall of Fame in their sport, like Scottie Pippen. That's what makes me feel old.
You know what? Since I am going to be 26 years old, this is kind of like a break point in my life, which I either continue with radio and somebody scoops me up and, gives me something for me to sign. That's one route, and if I take another route, I can use my GIWayne.com experience and go run for office, kind of sort of like Ben Quayle did, and the type of experience that he had working for or with DirtyScottsdale.com. Paul, we're going to take a break. Stay right here. Fitness celebrity John Bastow is a guest tonight. He's going to be here. We're going to be talking staying motivated and achieving your goals. Stay right here.